Well, welcome to the broadcast. Good evening. This is Ebru Primetime News. My name is Diana Rachael Mbogwa. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Joyce Wairimo. Trust you're keeping well, safe and healthy. Now, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru is confident of being absolved by Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC after an 8-hour non-stop grilling. Waiguru remains firm that her woes are politically motivated, where she accused members of the county assembly of being used as weak links to plan for her downfall. Our political affairs reporter Jeff Haemba with more details.
At about 10 a.m. at the Integrity Center, Nairobi, Governor Anne Waiguru arrived here for grilling over corruption allegations. The governor, upon her arrival, spent some minutes at the gate after she refused to be taken body temperatures in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was upon the intervention of the EACC officials that Governor Anne Waiguru marched in the compound, and straight she was ushered through the revolving doors at the Integrity Center. For close to 8 good hours of grilling, Waiguru walked out sweating like never before.
We came to have the conversation. Personally, I was called because of the issue of imprests, and we've clarified each and every allegation that the MCAs had done, and I'm happy that the truth is finally out, and I'm sure soon you will hear what the report is. And every time I have come here, nothing has come out of it. Just like this, there'll be nothing.
The controversial governor was put to task by EACC officials over alleged misappropriation of 10.6 million Kenyan shillings impressed by her office. This was raised by the members of the county assembly, who she accused of political witch hunt even after she was impeached before being served at the Senate.
I'm satisfied, and you will soon see where the truth lies, because you can make allegations about very many things, but if you have no evidence, it doesn't go anywhere. So we've written our statement. We are happy that we were given the opportunity to come and clarify whatever allegations there were, whatever that was not made clarified in the Senate, and we are hopeful that this issue will now be behind us and we'll move forward.
The governor is also accused of being involved in fictitious issuance of the tenders to some of her relatives and close associates.
This is definitely witch hunt from county assembly. I mean, it is witch hunt. Some of those trips, they were saying that we did not go, they were there themselves. So, but EACC needed to do their own parallel investigation separate from the Senate, which they have done, and we hope that soon we will hear what their report is.
The grilling of Waiguru comes a day before the devolution committee of the Senate on Tuesday, where the members of the Otieno Kajwang-led committee implored upon the Governor Anne Waiguru to make the efforts to bury the hatchet with the members of the county assembly.
You know, we are willing to reconcile. We gave our effort on the reconciliation. They were not welcoming the idea, so we will give it time. So in the meantime, now we focus on the issues of the budget, because we must focus on delivering services for Kirinyaga people.
Members of the Kirinyaga County Assembly have vowed to continue collecting the signatures to dissolve the county government. However, Anne Waiguru seems to be unshaken and has a brief message to the members of the county assembly.
Let them try. Mwanaume ni effort.
The fate of Governor Anne Waiguru now lies in the hands of the EACC, which is so much determined to make a paper trail of the corruption allegations in Kirinyaga County before making the determination. Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Jeff Haemba.
Now, if elections were held today, Deputy President William Ruto would be elected president. This is according to a new opinion poll, which also revealed the Nyanza kingpin and ODM chief Raila Odinga is losing ground in his stronghold.
The season of political opinion polls is kicking off 18 months to the 2022 general election year, with a new report by research firm Intel Research Solutions, which shows that 30% of Kenyans would vote in Deputy President William Ruto if elections were to be held today. ODM leader Raila Odinga trailed at 17%, followed by Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua, ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi in that order. But the most interesting statistic were these numbers that shows that the Nyanza region could be shifting allegiances from ODM leader Raila Odinga to his now brazen competitor William Ruto. That, coupled with the fact that the ruling Jubilee Party is the most popular political party at the moment, could only spell trouble for President Uhuru Kenyatta's handshake partner, Raila Odinga. On the devolution front, the report showed that Kenyans say Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua is the best performing county chief, followed by Mombasa's Hassan Joho. Kisii Governor James Ongwae is the worst performing governor, according to the report. The report, which had a sample size of 4,224, also showed that nearly half of Kenyans projected the popularity of the Building Bridges initiative, spearheaded by President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, at 47%. The study, that had a margin of error of plus and minus 2, involved 4,224 respondents who were interviewed between July 10th and 15th.
Now, Health CAS Rashid Aman has rubbished claims of a looming cabinet lockdown following a circular released by the head of public service, Joseph Kinyua. Meanwhile, the CAS has reiterated that owners of bars guising as eateries and vice versa will face the full face of the law. Here is more.
Health CAS Rashid Aman could not reiterate any more on the legal action to be taken against restaurants guising as bars and vice versa.
Restrictions that were put in place, bars have not been opened. Bars and pubs remain closed. There was no lifting of that ban on bars and pubs.
Aman warning that no bars have been licensed to operate, neither are eateries supposed to operate past curfew hours while guising as bars. The warning coming at a time when many restaurants have been caught selling alcohol in a sit-to-drink basis, while one of the leaders have been caught flouting the COVID-19 regulations.
We have noted that what is happening out there is that eateries are also acting as bars at the same time. And equally, bars are pretending to be eateries so that alcohol can be consumed in these places.
Meanwhile, the CAS has rubbished claims of a looming cabinet lockdown, clarifying that the purpose of the circular released by the head of public service was to reinforce measures that the government has put in place.
There has been no determination of a lockdown. Government must function. Government officers must function. And if you remember, we have said that essential services must continue. I think you will agree that government and functioning of government is an essential service.
Kenya is currently number 10 in Africa with the disease burden, with over 14,000 cases. Kenya recording 14,805 confirmed cases today after another 637 new infections were confirmed.
Taking a well-balanced diet without washing hands, without wearing your mask, without keeping physical distance will not protect you from COVID-19 disease. It is good to have a wholesome diet, but remember, infection prevention control measures are very paramount for you not to get COVID-19.
Further, home-based care has been proved to work efficiently in the country after another 406 patients were discharged today out of a total of 499 patients. The death rate continues to rise with 10 more patients who have succumbed to the virus, bringing the total deaths to 260. Busara Naman for Ebru TV.
Now, meanwhile, the Pubs and Restaurants Association has opposed the proposal by the government to control the sale and consumption of alcohol in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19. Speaking in Nairobi Wednesday, the owners under the umbrella of the Pubs Entertainment and Restaurants Association of Kenya noted that the proposed draft regulations by the Health Ministry, if approved, will render thousands jobless, while businesses are likely to collapse.
The association noted that restaurants and eateries have gone through a lengthy and expensive process of obtaining the clearance to reopen. This is after several pubs and restaurants have been highlighted for being in contravention of the protocols laid down by the Ministry of Health.
The final release of the tourism sector reopening protocols was categorical on which types of business should reopen at this time. These included restaurants and eateries only. Bars, discos, entertainment venues were not and are not permitted to reopen at this time.
They said a small percentage and isolated cases highlighted in the media for flouting protocols should not be used for collective punishment of the entire sector, adding that offenders should instead be individually charged in court.
The isolated businesses highlighted in the media are not members of PERAC. That is a Pubs, Entertainment, Restaurants Association of Kenya.
The association's national chairperson, Alice Ope, said they have invested more than 200 million shillings in adhering to the reopening protocols, with some establishments having investments of almost 1 million shillings, hence have no intentions of flouting the protocols.
I think we're already doing what we would wish to do as PERAC, coming out there and appealing to the government that it would be unfair to punish the entire industry for a number of people who have flawed. And we're also asking the law enforcers to help us work. As PERAC, we have our own internal mechanism.
In a draft document seen by Ebru TV on Tuesday, the government is considering banning the sale of alcohol in eateries, and the association is pleading with the government to save their businesses.
The same outlets have gone through a lengthy and expensive process of obtaining a Form C that allowed them to do exactly that. If the proposal is approved, thousands will be rendered jobless and businesses likely to collapse.
The association decried the losses incurred by the businesses in June, citing that if the ban is announced again, many people will lose their jobs.
Kwenda wanabiashara wale wanauza hizo chakula ya wakulima, hadi sisi wenyewe na wafanyikazi wetu sote tunaumia. Na kadri ya mwezi wa June tumeenda hasara ya zaidi ya bilioni 50.
We can't on one end open the economy to the rest of the sectors and close the restaurants. Where do people actually meet after 5? Where do people want to go after you've left work? So we are just requesting the government to hear our plea.
The government, through the Ministry of Health, has reiterated that it will take drastic actions against anyone or any pub or restaurant flouting the COVID-19 measures. Bars and restaurants flouting the COVID-19 rules have been put on notice, and now the associations want the ministry not to put a blanket accusation to the whole industry, but to arrest and prosecute the involved culprits. Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Kaindo Stefan.
And now a security team in Kisii County has decried the rate at which bars and restaurants are flouting regulations meant to contain the spread of COVID-19. Now this comes a day after, or rather today after Health CAS Rashid Aman warned against restaurants and eateries operating as bars during curfew hours. Led by Kisii County Police Commander Jebel Munene and CEC Administration Edna Kangwana, they castigated the business owners for operating during curfew hours and selling alcoholic drinks to sit-in customers.
You have no authority to continue selling beer. Stop selling beer. Run only the restaurant. Make sure that you have water at the entrance where people wash their hands with soap. Make sure you have sanitizers. Thermogun to test this, your customers, to screen them.
This follows the revelation that a section of the COVID-19 patients in the county were attendants in such businesses. Munene ordered bar owners to remove all alcoholic drinks from their counters and serve only food in the restaurants.
The main problem we have are bars. Bars were closed a long time ago. So those who are running bars in this county, from today henceforth, we are saying that close the bar, remove all the beers and any kind of intoxicating drinks from the counters.
Kangwana appealed for individual responsibility in containing the disease, which has currently affected 12 people in the county and over 14,000 in the country.
Because we are taking them as leaders wherever they are operating their business. We've realized that we continue the way we are not headed to the right place. And we decided instead of calling them to a meeting, we come to them and see what they're doing. And definitely what we've seen, they're doing what they're not supposed to do.
She urged residents to honor the Ministry of Health protocols in containing the spread of the global pandemic. Now, Kasipul Member of Parliament Charles Ongondo has been fined 15,000 shillings after pleading guilty to flouting the COVID-19 guidelines. The lawmaker was detained at Oyugis police station in relation to an illegal political rally he held in violation to World Health Organization and Ministry of Health protocols on the prevention of COVID-19. Now, those who attended the event did not wear masks and failed to observe social distance.
I'm even very happy when I was called to the police station. All washing basins within the police station, all sanitizers, donated and branded Omondowere. When I reached the court, the first item which came across my attention is a washing hand container to mitigate COVID-19 donated by Omondowere. So I agree in totality with the ruling or submission by the magistrate that despite some violation, I was also handing over administrative office for Assistant Chief in Sino, administrative block built under the oversight and patronage of Omondowere, MP for Kasipul. Just for the public consumption, it is a challenge keeping distance. Even when I entered the court, people had to be arranged. Even if you go to court area, we still say we need observation of 1 meter requirement.
Now, moving on, the Makadara Law Courts will be closed for 14 days in measures meant to avert the spread of the new coronavirus. In a statement, Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Ann Amadi, noted that the measures were informed by 2 coronavirus infections within the law courts. The break will allow disinfection of the court premises and allow those affected enough time to seek medical attention. Milimani Law Courts will also be closed between July 24th and 25th to allow disinfection. The court services will resume on Monday, July 27th. Now, to matters education, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers is petitioning Parliament to address the plight of private school teachers that has been complicated by the raging COVID-19. And as Milia Kisienya reports, KUPPET Chairman Omboko Milemba has warned that a crisis looms in public schools as learners from the private schools are likely to seek enrollment in the public schools.
26-year-old Kezia Karanja goes about preparing her beauty shop for the day. Karanja and her colleague Rebecca Atuti, both private school teachers, pooled their finances.
5 months down the line, the private school fraternity continues being tormented by the wrath of the COVID-19 pandemic. The closure of schools, cutting them off from generating any revenue. The woes were complicated when school closure was extended to 2021.
Ladies and gentlemen, faced with this uncertain environment, these stakeholders have resolved to reopen all basic institutions in January. This is based on the assumption that the curve will have flattened or we shall have known a little bit much more about this virus.
And despite efforts to get the economic stimulus package, to see them weather through the COVID storm. The efforts have so far narrowed down to nothing. KUPPET Chairman Omboko Milemba, in an exclusive interview, has however warned of tougher times and a possible crisis in schools come next year if the situation is not addressed.
Hii ni duka ambalo lina bidhaa. Hiyo bidhaa ikitolewa basi duka linafunga. Na bidhaa pale huwa ni wanafunzi, sababu hao ndio huleta karo, na hiyo karo ndio fedha ambao huwezesha hizi private schools kuendelea mbele. Na vile tumemaliza muda huu wote bila private schools kufanya kazi, wazazi hawalipi karo. Kwa hivyo lile duka lazima litafungwa. Likifungwa lazima litaanzishwa vipya. Wakati napoanza vipya, hawa watoto wataenda wapi? Hawa watoto wote wataenda katika shule zetu za public. Na tutakuwa na janga la kufurika kwa mashule zetu za public hata zaidi kuliko vile ziko saizi.
And in an effort to push for the agenda.
Juzi nilipeleka mswada katika bunge na ilikuwa ni petition ya kumuuliza Waziri Magoha aangalie vile hawa walimu wataweza kulipwa. Tutakuwa tukikutana na yeye wiki kesho katika committee education. Tulikuwa tunangojea restructuring the committees, vile hatukuwa na chairman, lakini wiki jana tuliweza kupata chairman mpya, na next week tutakuwa tunakutana na Magoha ili wale walimu wasiumie.
According to a report from the private school umbrella body, the Kenya Private School Association, at least 109 schools have folded up to try something else due to the lack of revenue, while 155,000 teachers have been rendered jobless, and another batch of 133,000 support staff said to be struggling to make ends meet. Despite the introduction of the free education in schools by the government, there has been a shortage of schools, thus the burden thrown to private schools. However, as Omboko states, the same saviors have now been left out.
Nairobi is a shame, because what the government is doing is that it's not totally carrying the burden of free and compulsory education, but it's actually giving that burden to the private sector without saying they are doing that. Virtually the entire education, basic education in Nairobi is being managed by the private sector. The public schools in Nairobi are very few, and the government is willing to give a deaf ear and eye to that.
And in matters regarding depression into teachers during this pandemic, KUPPET says it has taken up as a wake-up call in creating workshop for the teachers, though also calling upon the Ministry of Education to also take charge.
But this must be supported again by the Teacher Service Commission. As we are just taking a step, because these are our potential members, but the Teacher Service Commission should take the biggest step to actually get funds to do counseling for these teachers. The Ministry of Education should also step in and help in counseling these teachers.
Meanwhile, as TSC continues lining up the wallets of its employees, teachers in the private sector have shifted focus outside the classroom walls and rather resorted to menial jobs to fend for their families. Over 300,000 learners in the private school sector across the country risk seeking places in the public institutions come 2021. This is because the schools they were in risk closure, or rather some have already closed due to lack of funds as well as rent arrears. Milia Kisenya for Ebru TV.
Well, thank you, Milia, for that report. Now, still on private schools, the Kenya Private School Association is lobbying the government to help sustain their schools and teachers after authorities announced that because of COVID-19, schools cannot open until January. Kenya's Ministry of Education is supporting public schools and teachers, but many private teachers have had to turn to other jobs to survive financially. Lenny Ruvaga has the story here.
26-year-old Kezia Karanja goes about preparing her beauty shop for the day. Karanja and her colleague Rebecca Atuti, both private school teachers, pooled their financial resources and began this business 2 months ago at the onset of the nationwide lockdown in Kenya. The teachers, who both teach humanities, make an average of $10 in sales each day. However, Karanja says that due to the fact that both are on indefinite unpaid leave from their jobs, finding the money to keep their shop running is quite the challenge.
We don't have enough stock so that you can sell the products. You see, when you're starting a business, you should have enough stock so that you can sell to the customers. But you're having challenges that when someone comes for a certain product, you don't have, because you don't have the money to have the stock.
In mid-March, the government suspended learning in all institutions in a bid to stem the spread of COVID-19. While public school teachers are still drawing their salaries, many private school teachers are not. Peter Ndoro, the chief executive officer at KPSA, wants the government to offer financial support to the private schools. Ndoro told VOA that about 1,400 teachers have lost their jobs as a result of the closure of schools. The rest are on unpaid leave.
During this period, what is it that will be happening? There will be no revenue coming in. But private schools closed because they wanted Kenya to be safe, heeding to the president's call that all schools should be closed. So what is it that needs to be done? These institutions need to be supported by the government.
With a workforce of around 300,000 teachers, private schools have requested a $7 million grant to pay salaries and offset mounting costs. Zach Kenuthia, the Education Chief Administrative Secretary, says the request is under consideration.
We can say that they want to be removed from a gridlock that is almost decimating them. It can be considered at higher levels and agreements can be made. There is no money, taxes are not being collected as they used to. We are struggling to get income, but just something can be done so that we also save them.
For now, Karanja and thousands of other teachers drawn from private schools across the country are turning to alternative sources of income and vocations to support their families. Lenny Rovaga for VOA News, Nairobi.
Now to a rather disturbing story. A 14-year-old girl in Karurumo Shopping Center, Embu County, is living in despair after she was allegedly raped twice. The young girl, who is currently expectant, has been left desolate as she has no one to turn to, even as the perpetrators walk scot-free. Here's Abdiaziz Hashim with more.
She sits outside her mother's house, pondering what she will do after her predicament. Her academic aspirations cut short after she was allegedly raped twice.
Mimi mwenye najua ni mmoja na kwa huku bando. Fenya alipotea na akarudi huku ndio aliangalia wana kuna kitu tunaweza fanya. Alirudi huku. Yeye mwingine yeye alipotea tujaimuona.
Mimi nikipeleka mtu station after 2 days namuona amerudi huku. Sasa anaanza kunisekelea. Anauliza yani lesi aweza nipeleka wapi.
The girl's ordeal was worsened by the fact that the mother is not willing to pursue the matter and seek justice.
Mama mtoto huyu alienda hospitali akatumia pesa nyingi sana. Kwa hivyo anaona kesi hii ya pili itakuwa kama ile ingine ya kwanza. Akasema kesi hii ikienda mbele ana pesa ya kuenda mbele.
Anaogopa na anaonekana kama tu anafurahia mchana wake kupata na mimba, sababu last year but one alikuwa ameranjisiwa na mtu mwingine na alipopelekwa hospitali akaambiwa ameharibiwa mayai yote. Sasa furaha yake ni kuwa ati anasikia mchana wake yako na mimba.
Her sister-in-law said the girl was first raped in 2018 and the perpetrator went scot-free.
Kama watoto watakuwa natendewa mabaya hivyo kila wakati, na akia watoto, when we talk about children's rights, zikuwa zitaweza kwenda mahali. Tukifika wakati wa kufungua shule sababu ya COVID-19, watoto wangapi watakuwa wamepotelea hapa katikati?
Kuna wasichana wengi sana hapa Karurumo wamekuwa wakidhulumiwa kimapenzi, wengine watu wanapachikwa mimba na wazee ambao ama vijana ambao ni wakubwa na ambao hawana heshima kwa maisha ya watoto. Unakuta mtoto wa miaka 8, miaka 10, miaka 12, miaka 13 anakunja anapachikwa mimba, na hata hiyo malalamiko ikipelekwa kwa polisi hakuna hatua inachukuliwa.
The second perpetrator, only known as Mugambi from neighboring Tharaka Nithi County, was living in a house adjacent to the victim's house. He is said to have taken advantage of the girl when her mother was away. Embu East Deputy County Commissioner George Omolo said police officers are pursuing cases of defilement and the perpetrators will soon be brought to book.
Na yangu ni kusihi jamii na wananchi kwa jumla kwamba ni wajibu wetu sisi wenyewe tuhakikisha kwamba watoto wetu tumewalinda. Tukipata mtu anahusika na hayo, hasa akiwa mtumishi wa umma, tutamchukulia hatua.
He noted that 2 people were sentenced last week by a Runyenjes court over the same. And as the administrator breathes fire over the incidents, questions arise as to whether the girl will get justice. Abdiaziz Hashim, Ebru TV.
Well, welcome back to the broadcast. Now, a section of Uasin Gishu elders and religious leaders have criticized the manner in which National Hygiene Program, dubbed Kazi Mtaani Program, is being implemented, saying it will not leave a lasting impact in most parts of the country. The 10 billion shillings project initiated by President Uhuru Kenyatta has been marred by controversies, with a section of politicians and chiefs accused of siphoning the monies intended to cushion youth from harsh effects of COVID-19.
The first phase of Kazi Mtaani kicked off in April 2020 as a pilot program in select informal settlements in 8 counties of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kiambu, Nakuru, Kisumu, Kilifi, Kwale and Mandera. The second phase of Kazi Mtaani has been expanded to cover 34 counties and employ 200,000 workers from informal settlements to engage in more urban development projects. However, the project has not been well received in all counties, Uasin Gishu being one of them. Led by Sheikh Abubakar Bini and Hussan Kosgei, the leaders say the government should have used the program by engaging the youth to plant trees and start long-term projects that change lives.
Wazo la serikali ni zuri, lazima tuwapongeze. Lakini kazi yenyewe hawakuifikiria kwa njia ambayo kwamba ni mzuri. Kazi mitaani ya kusafisha mitaro ni kazi ya county government ambao walikuwa na wafanyikazi wao wanafanya hili. Hii kazi ibadilishwe iwe ni kazi ambayo kwamba ni yenye kuonekana leo na itakuwa ni historia kwa miaka 100 itakayokuja. Nayo ni vijana hawa watumiwe kwenda kupanda miti katika maforesti, wapande miti katika sehemu za barabara, hizi barabara kubwa hizi, wapande miti katika mito, ambayo wapande miti katika hata sehemu za railway.
They said clearing bushes and trenches in estates is short-term projects that won't change lives and they will be forced to go back to unemployment after a short while. Their recommendation:
sehemu zote ambazo kwamba ni za serikali na ziko wazi ili wapande miti, miti hii itakuwa ni ukumbusho leo na ni ukumbusho wa miaka itakayokuja, kwa kuwa kuna wakati katika dunia na taifa letu la Kenya kulikuwa kuna ugonjwa unaitwa corona. Serikali yetu tukufu ikafikiria wazo la kuwapa vijana kazi, vijana wasizurure ovyo ovyo. Miti hii italeta mvua, miti hii itazuia umomonyoko wa udongo, miti hii itafanya kazi nyingi ambayo itakuja kukumbukwa serikali ya Jubilee kwa wazo walilokuwa nalo ni kupanda miti.
Over 270,000 Kenyans will be absorbed in the national program with a 10 billion shillings budget outlay as recently announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The initiative is expanding to all 47 counties and will employ workers primarily drawn from the informal settlements in urban and rural settings. Winnie Lubembe for Ebru TV.
Now, COVID-19 is not only a respiratory disease, but affects other parts of the body that could be fatal. According to the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Secretary General Dr. Chibanzi Mwachonda says that evidence has shown the virus can cause neurological complications, kidney and heart failure, among others.
The national COVID-19 tally stands at 14,168 with 250 deaths since the disease was first announced in March 2020. And now the viral infection has moved from being a respiratory disease only. KMPDU's Dr. Mwachonda explains that this could affect anyone, medics included.
The evidence coming from the European countries and the US countries that are now
5 months, 6 months, and even China, where it originated from, into dealing with this illness has shown evidence of neurological symptoms, strokes, impairment in memory, movement, heart disease, kidney complications. And all these healthcare workers who are now affected are at the greatest risk of suffering disabilities 1 year from now, 2 years from now, and 3 years from now.
This comes in the wake of medics pushing for health and life insurance for all health workers, risking their lives to battle COVID-19 infections. Their call?
From an occupational safety and health, we urge that, and we are going to put proposals today for consideration by government on occupational safety and health compensation and insurance for the healthcare workers who are all infected as we speak and will continue getting exposed and infected.
According to the Doctors' Union, stigma towards healthcare workers who test positive for COVID-19 is high.
Once you're confirmed positive, then you are uncertain about your treatment, because we have a good number, and I know a good number also, who are actually at home in isolation. The enforcement through employment has not yet come through. So this has put the workforce, especially the old, at a crossroads. Because at the workplace, there's a shortage, and they're still required to offer services.
They have expressed fears on the county's preparedness to handle the influx of COVID-19 cases, maintaining that 300-bed capacity isolation facilities is not enough, but rather adequate human resource as well. Winnie Lubembe for Ebru TV.
Now, heads in county and national government offices in Nyamira County have been directed to comply with workplace guidelines on containment of COVID-19 pandemic, which were issued through the head of public service to ensure containment of the disease. Have a look.
According to County Commissioner Amos Mariba, in the past few days, the government guidelines in the fight against COVID-19 have been flouted, exposing the workers, their families and visitors to COVID-19, and impact is expected in the next 2 months.
Na ni jambo la kusikitisha kuona kwamba wengine wameanza kupuuza. Hatutakuwa tunaongea tu kuhusu wananchi peke yao, hata watumishi wa umma wengine wameanza kupuuza hayo maagizo. Na nikisema utumishi wa umma, nasema kila mtu, hata wale tuko kwa county government, wote ni watumishi wa umma.
Mariba was speaking at Nyamira Referral Hospital during a handing over of a part of the PPEs worth 287 million by Equity Group Foundation.
Wale maafisa ambao wako na miaka 58 na kuenda juu, na wengine ambao wako na pre-existing conditions, mnajua mapresha mingi, sukari, na mambo kama hayo. Kama hujui pre-existing condition, umuone daktari hapa atakueleza. Mufanye kazi kutoka nyumbani.
Handing over the PPEs, Chief Operation Officer of the Foundation, Polycarp Igathe, noted the need to protect medics who are frontline workers.
This is the season of survival. If anybody is talking about anything else, then they are missing the agenda. This is the season of survival. And there are very few people who come to the front line to help others survive. So I celebrate you, doctors, clinicians, nurses. We celebrate you completely.
He added that this was the first of the 4 phases of the PPE's donations by the group in the next 24 to 36 months, which will be distributed to 68 public hospitals across the country. According to County Governor John Nyangarama, 134 workers were trained on the COVID-19 management in preparation for the expected spike, while the hospital's ICU has 5 beds with ventilators.
We'll continue to closely monitor our count entry points, and over 500,000 travelers have so far been arrested.
This comes even as the county has so far reported 5 positive cases, of which have all been discharged. Usara Naman for Ebru TV.
Now, the government has instituted safety measures to ensure staff and members of the public seeking services in all HUDUMA centers nationally are protected from contracting the COVID-19 pandemic, the disease rather. The safety measures have been put in place as part of the phased approach and preparedness of the Center for Resumption of Critical Services.
Huduma Kenya Secretariat Chief Executive Officer James Buyekani says the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the normal lives of Kenyans, and the government is keen to ensure they continue with their lives and businesses.
Basically, as you're aware, the country is going through a very difficult moment and time with the challenges bedeviling this country, the challenges of managing this corona pandemic. But in order to be able to support the effort of the government in ensuring that the Kenyan citizens continue to receive some of the critical services that can enable the Kenyan citizens continue with their lives and their businesses.
The clients are supposed to wash their hands and the temperature is taken to ensure that they are healthy. The Secretariat donated 2 hand-washing equipment and sanitizers to the Nyeri HUDUMA Center to support the government in the fight against the spread of coronavirus. He said customers found with high temperatures above 39.9 degrees centigrade are advised to seek medical attention, but so far no case has been recorded at the Nyeri HUDUMA Center.
We have embarked on a journey on what we are calling the safe resumption of services at HUDUMA Center. So we have come up with guidelines as part of this effort to support the government to continue to offer these services, but ensuring that our staff who are offering the services remain safe and adhere to the safe guidelines as given by the Ministry of Health, and also the wananchi or the Kenyan citizens who are coming to receive these services also remain safe.
He has noted that HUDUMA Center is one of the government flagship projects through which channels have been provided to offer services to the Kenyan citizen.
So far we have opened all the 52 centers across the country, and we are offering the high demand or the critical services like the collection of IDs, police abstracts, certificate of good conduct, KRA, and all those critical certificates and services are being offered in the 52 centers that we have across the country, but while adhering to the conditions.
Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Dolly Mirigi.
Let's take a look at the world of business now. Over 300 information, communication and technology and engineering students have graduated after a 12-month training under the Presidential DigiTalent program. The program, launched in 2015, had the aim of efficiently serving the implementation of key government agendas.
Since the inception of the program in 2015, the Presidential DigiTalent program, which is in its 4th year of implementation, a total of 1,300 youths have benefited from the program. And today, an additional 300 interns are graduating via video conferencing. Chief Administrative Secretary Maureen Barker, who presided over the graduation ceremony, said the program is more than just an enabler in the implementation of key government agendas, but also an essential tool enhancing the delivery of efficient government services to Kenyans.
The focus is to develop and sustain high-end ICT talent by bridging the skill gaps between industry requirements and the capabilities of the local workforce.
Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, the ICT takes the center stage, especially in government's development plan through application of innovative mobile and web-based applications for data collection, analysis and reporting to monitor and make data-driven strategies to manage the pandemic. The Presidential Digital Talent Program is modeled on a public-private partnership and anchored on key national documents. Those documents including the Medium-Term Plan 3 and Vision 2030, Kenya's long-term development blueprint that aims to transform the country into a modern, globally competitive middle-income economy.
The government has lost over 250 million shillings in levies from the tourism sector. However, measures have been put in place to cushion the sector during the COVID-19 pandemic and ensure the sector is revived as easily as possible.
A ray of hope was shown over Kenya's tourism sector after President Uhuru Kenyatta lifted a partial lockdown. The lifting of COVID-19 restriction of domestic prospect for the resumption of domestic tourism, the lifeline the tourism sector is relying on as the pandemic continues to grip the world. Speaking today during the meeting Senate Committee on Tourism, CAS Minister of Tourism Joseph Boynet said the ministry undertook a study on the impact of COVID-19 towards tourism with collaboration of our institution of learning to develop protocols that will guide tourism businesses and operation in all sectors. The ministry has revealed the National Tourism Policy, which will culminate in the review of Tourism Act and restructuring of the existing institution to make them much more effective and efficient in service delivery and making much more resilience following the lessons of COVID-19. The government has instituted a lot of measures to cushion the economy against the devastating consequences of COVID-19. Strategies to be put in place to ensure the industry recovers include designing protocols the industry needs to run the business, communicate better to deal with the pandemic, repackage the touristic resources, digitize the touristic resources, train the personnel, and position the country in a tourism resilient zone. Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Dolly Murigi.
And this is where we wrap up Ebru Primetime News. Thank you so much for always choosing Ebru to keep you informed. Stay tuned for more programming. My name is Rachael Mbogwa. Our sign language interpreter for tonight has been Joyce Wairimo. Do have yourself a lovely night and God bless you.